Okay, welcome. We are live and no technical difficulties like we had last night. So welcome to the Continue Freedom Podcast. I truly appreciate all you folks that are tuning in. We've already got people coming on. If you don't mind, hit me up in the comments and let me know where you're listening from. I would love to know my audience. I would love to know the reach of my audience as this channel continues to grow, which it is doing. We're getting some great viewership, some great engagement from folks, and I appreciate it because this is my passion. I love doing this. I love bringing you all the information and along the way trying to entertain you guys. And speaking of which, while I've got some folks coming on, I'm going to show you a couple of clips here before we get into the serious stuff. This is one that actually I just pulled it up right before the show, and I thought, you know what, this would be good. While people are coming on the live stream, let's watch some interesting content. And this is Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan. They had a debate here a few days ago. Well, it was released a few days ago. And Tucker Carlson goes absolutely insane on Piers Morgan.
It's a defensive organization.
How is it defensive?
Because it has never acted proactively, aggressively.
Really? Where were you when the Yugoslavia war was going on? And they were bombing the shit out of Christians in Yugoslavia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was pretty offensive.
NATO has always operated in a defensive capacity.
Really?
Yes.
That's how they created Kosovo? Defensively?
It was defensive.
Oh, it was?
Yes, it was.
Who was the aggressor there?
Well, you know, my brother-in-law was literally there.
Just a minute. What you're saying is insane.
It's not insane. NATO has never actually acted unilaterally.
Okay, so the Soviet Union
It's
collapses.
never attacked anybody without being attacked. It's always been defensive.
Who in Yugoslavia attacked NATO?
Look.
Here's the point where you just admit defeat. Bow your head and be like, you know what? I bow before superior knowledge. I totally got this wrong. Can't believe I had such a silly idea. I'm sorry.
Do you guys like Tucker? Are you all Tucker fans? All you all that are watching right now? You know, I am. His early stuff, I didn't watch a whole lot of it, but as he's grown, I've come to enjoy some of his content, and I definitely don't agree with him on everything, but that's part of public discourse, right? That's part of the world that we live in, is that we're not just going to sit here and agree on everything, and we can't. There's certain places where we have to put our foot down, but when it comes to, discussing world events and discussing politics here in America, we're going to disagree, but we have to be able to disagree and, still have dinner together if we have to. And the two of them do that. Here's another one. This is coming out of, and we're definitely getting some more folks on. This is great. Again, if you're just coming on, hit me up in the comments and let me know where you're listening from. I would love to hear from you all. And I'm going to get your opinion on a couple of things as we go through this live stream. But this is one that was posted by Jack Posobiec, and it was CNN. It was MSNBC. Oh, everybody's favorite network. MSNBC, and they're talking about the Trump purge. This is really wild.
Happening. It can only be described as the start of a massive, much larger than expected purge at the FBI of FBI agents and officials. Many of them, in one way or another, touch the investigations into Donald Trump. Sources telling NBC News this: the Office of Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove asked the FBI for a list of Bureau employees involved in January 6 cases, sparking panic inside the Bureau by people who fear retribution by the Trump administration amidst an ongoing purge of FBI leadership. Meanwhile, my colleague, NBC's Ken Delanian, reports that several top FBI executives were told to resign or be fired, and that the purge includes more than 20 heads of FBI field offices, including those in Miami and Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. So the purge is beginning. I question the timing of this, though, I'll be honest, because the timing is before Kash Patel has actually been voted in. Before that's been held, they're already coming out and saying, okay, we're going to start the purge. I think it would have been better. It would have been wiser to wait until later, but, it is what it is. They're going to do what they're going to do. And the last thing I'll hit before we get into the darker side of this, which is dealing with this plane crash, the event that happened in D.C., which there's clearer video that I'm going to show you. I'm going to go walk you through some of the conspiracy theories that people are throwing out there, whether they hold any water or not. And if you all didn't know, Pete Hegseth came out because this was a military Black Hawk helicopter, a UH-60 helicopter. The statement by them is that, yes, there seemed to be some issues, the altitude issues, which Donald Trump tweeted out, President Trump did. And they said they were flying too high, and we'll get into all of that. But the next thing that I want to discuss is the White House press briefing today, and in the press briefing, of course, the helicopter airplane midair collision was a piece of that. But the first time, and I didn't pull up a video for this one because I really just wanted to talk it out with you guys. The first podcast had with press credentials was in the White House press briefing. That's point number one. They realized that alternative media got Donald Trump into the White House thanks to his son Barron. But this alternative media is a critical component of information transfer and information sharing in America today. And if you agree with that, oh, by the way, hey, I'll hit up in the comments here, Bristol, Tennessee. Tristan, welcome. I almost wore my Tennessee hat tonight. But no, the transparency is coming from the alternative media. I talked yesterday about the backlash against RFK Jr. and his stance on the pharmaceutical industry. And his stance on the pharmaceutical industry is combative, to say the least, but it's really more about accountability. The pharmaceutical industry is the same one that pays for 80% of our media. They're pumping billions of dollars into ads that don't really mean anything, that don't really communicate anything, that say we can fix your psoriasis so long as you're okay with kidney failure, liver failure, heart attack, and your teeth fall out. But this is the thing. They're fueling that machine, and they have to be on board with their sponsors. Whereas an alternative media outlet getting Black Rifle Coffee or Goldline or whatever it happens to be, they're not beholden to anybody who holds the lives of American citizens in their hand, and they're not bought and paid for the most part. So it offers a different perspective for the American people, and the alternative media does, and they have now opened it up. And it was the Ruthless Podcast that was the first podcast to sit in the White House press briefing. And Karoline Leavitt, the new White House press secretary, she said that there were 10,000 applications by alternative media outlets. And now we've got people like the War Room, Steve Bannon's War Room. Natalie Winters is going to be their White House correspondent. And of course, she came under fire because she dressed a little too, I don't know, I guess you would say provocatively, but she didn't wear the typical garb, I guess you would say. But she's going to be, so we've got these online media outlets that are getting millions and millions and millions of views. And as people are leaving the mainstream media in droves, they're going to these outlets. This is the natural progression of information. And so I'm going to give you a couple of not pointers, but a couple of points from the press briefing today. Yes, it was confirmed Canada and Mexico as of tomorrow, so February 1st, the tariffs go in place. And China, by the way. So 25% on Mexico, 25% on Canada, and 10% on China. And the question was asked, are these going to cause prices to go up? And even President Trump has said there's going to be a temporary disruption, is how I read it. But a temporary disruption, yeah, some prices are going to go up, but things will level out. And he's working on, we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So there's going to be tariffs that are in place. These are going to penalize those countries. We're going to see probably some price increases temporarily. But in the long run, between that and reducing inflation, which is another one of his key missions, the impact is going to be a bit more beneficial to us, I believe, than detrimental. So the press pre-screening process, I don't know if you all remember this or not, but the Biden White House was they were not the most transparent of White Houses. I think you all remember that and know that. But they are basically removing the pre-screening process. She said that they haven't fully gone through all of that. They're undoing a lot of things from the Biden White House. But this is something that she's going to address. So if people had press credentials before, they're going to get those press credentials again. And then, let's see. Oh, and then the last thing was the White House has confirmed, as reported by the new CIA director, that COVID came from a lab leak. Why did it take so long for that to happen? It finally did. But this is the thing. It's almost moving too fast for me to keep up. That I'm trying to fill a 30 to 45 minute show every evening, and I could probably sit and talk for 2 or 3 hours on all this stuff. But I try to move through the topics as quick as I possibly can. Okay, so let's get into the sad topic. This is 67 people, and think of the families around these people that, folks lost their lives in a midair collision at Reagan Airport. And you all probably heard about it, and it happened, it was a day or two ago. I should have looked up the initial date of it, but I didn't talk about it initially because there was just such an information vacuum. We saw the video, but it didn't really tell us a whole lot. Now, some things are already starting to come out, and if this is true, this is not a good idea. So it said, this is from Matt Walsh, and he said the military is withholding the names of the female helicopter pilot. So apparently the National Guard helicopter pilot was a female. This is totally unacceptable. The helicopter was involved in and may have actually caused one of the worst airline disasters in American history. We have a right to know the names. They're being tight-lipped around this is not going to bode well for the Defense Department. It's not going to bode well for the Trump White House, and they owe us a reason as to why. If that ends up being true, again, this was just tweeted tonight, or X'd tonight. I just pulled it up before the show. If this happens, yeah, they owe us some answers. They definitely owe us some answers. Here is the the latest video. This is obtained by CNN. This one's been cropped, and I'll get into some of the details of it.
Seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side.
So there's the helicopter.
Screen.
This is very clear now.
The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide,
and then there's
causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river.
Very, very sad.
In a second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water.
Wow.
And the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
So there were 3 soldiers on board the Black Hawk helicopter, and there were 64 people on board the regional jet. You've probably flown in one of those. It's the narrow-bodied regional jets, the CRJ. And here's some of the things that have been coming out. People automatically start throwing out the conspiracy theories because we have an inherent distrust in anything we are being told by the mainstream media, anything and everything. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing to question this sort of stuff. But the DEI question did come up, and I'm going to talk about some of the DEI stuff. But people thought that the helicopter pilot was a transgender pilot, and there is one, and this pilot is Joe Ellis. But we can dispel that myth because Joe Ellis, after the accident, and I'm not going to play the whole video, but this is the guy. It's a guy pretending to be a woman who flies Black Hawk helicopters, and that person was not in there. He released a video after the fact and said, "Look, it wasn't me." Okay, fine. So dispel that myth. Was DEI part of it? Well, we'll talk about that. I don't necessarily think so, but I think that it speaks to a larger reduction in standards that comes along with DEI, because we've now learned that there were normally 2 people in the control tower. One of those people was allowed to leave early, and it would have been the one normally handling the helicopter traffic, as I have read. So that's another troubling point. Why was this person left early? Now, you probably heard folks, or may have heard, maybe you didn't, I don't know, but I heard this from several of we'll call them the resident conspiracy theory folks, some of whom end up being right fairly often, but that this was an automated, because this aircraft was flying towards, the Black Hawk was flying towards the regional jet for over a minute, 67 seconds. So 67 seconds. And I've heard varying numbers, but that's the one that have heard more frequently. More information is coming out. And they say it looks like it's flying autonomously. Could these people not control it? Like, in what world would they not see this? And is the capacity to control an aircraft remotely out there? Well, yes, it is out there. This is a program done by DARPA. So I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying that the data behind the conspiracy theory is relevant data. Sikorsky and DARPA have made autonomously flying Black Hawk helicopters. So they can fly a helicopter without a cockpit, or without anybody in the cockpit. This is an example of that right now. DARPA, one of your usual suspects when it comes to conspiracy theories. However, what we have also heard is the black box footage, or the audio. Excuse me. We have heard the black box audio. Now, I have not combed through it, but I have heard some of the airline pilots. I'm not going to play that tonight, but they could hear the pilots in the helicopter and the regional jet and the other aircraft behind them talking back and forth, not between those two, but with air traffic control. And when air traffic control saw the helicopter approaching, they asked a couple of times, do you see this? And yes, we see it. Yes, we see it. Yes, we see it. Like 3 times they said, yes, we identify the aircraft. One pilot I was listening to online said, well, it could be that he's seeing the aircraft behind the one that it actually hit. And you have to understand that if you ever watched in an airport, they're landing aircraft like every minute, every 2 minutes, every couple of minutes, they have an aircraft coming in. And so if you look at it on the ATC screen, which there's some footage out there of that, you see a line of aircraft that are lined up, and as one lands and pulls off the runway, as it lands and is pulling off, there's another one coming in. They're lined up right behind each other. They think, this pilot thought and pontificated, that the helicopter was actually talking about an aircraft behind them. So didn't see the one directly in front of them. Now, this is a night flight operation from a UH-60. How do they fly in a night flight training exercise? Then they're flying under night vision. So they're going to wear, this is what you see in the movies, right? They got the nods on. So we called them nods, but the night vision devices. They're looking through that, and so you're looking at the world through a toilet paper roll, basically, and it does restrict your field of view. However, the question that still comes up that I was asking is, yeah, but your head is on a swivel. You're in busy airspace. In the District of Columbia, you got planes landing every couple of minutes. You're too high. You're 400 feet instead of 200 feet. There's a report, and this hasn't been confirmed, but there's a report that they were off the approved flight line. So their direction of travel was, I've read, as much as a half mile off. Again, we'll wait for all the information to come out about that one. But your head would be on a swivel. How in the world do you miss that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Makes zero sense to me. So they're flying too high, possibly off the flight path that was approved, and they're flying with night vision. So, got it. Everybody says this is a DEI thing. It's because DEI, and why would they say that there's a DEI problem in the FAA? Well, under the Biden administration, these were the targeted disabilities for individuals wanting to work for the FAA. The Secretary of Transportation has set a hiring goal of 3% per fiscal year for individuals with targeted severe disabilities. Why? Why is that important? I'm sorry, you're hiring for the FAA. Not that there's, you can have somebody that works for the FAA. It's a big organization that can sit behind a desk and with vision impairment can still do things. I know people that work for I've known people that work for the federal government that are blind, that there's computer programs and ways to actually still be a productive person. It's not like you're completely helpless. But they want severe intellectual disability and psychiatric disability, as well as dwarfism and complete paralysis and partial paralysis, missing extremities, vision, and total deafness in both ears. Look, if you have these certain issues and you meet the standard and you are the best and brightest in your field, then fine, we can hire you. But we don't hire people simply because of that. That's the ridiculousness behind DEI. That's the silliness that we deal with DEI. And this is why people say, well, it's these DEI hires. It's because we're hiring for immutable characteristics or physical disabilities rather than hiring the absolute best and brightest. And that's a fact. That is true. That's actually a thing. Though they said it could be people have said it could be a leadership problem. That is a very real possibility. Could have been a leadership problem. Let's remember Biden's, I'm looking back now, but Biden's FAA, right now there's not a person heading the FAA. And I watched some of the liberal commentators and they were saying, oh, look, Trump let the FAA director, I can't remember if he resigned or if he booted him, but essentially boots the FAA director and now there's an airplane crash. Look, the FAA director, the head of the FAA is not down there in the control tower at Reagan Airport. They're the, I guess, literal and figuratively and literally the 30,000 foot view, but they're managing a huge organization. So that's not it. But if you have incompetent leadership, it can lead to a degradation in standards. And lest you forget, under the Biden administration, this was the FAA nominee for President Biden.
You ever flown a plane?
Thank you for the question, Senator. No, I have never flown a plane.
So you weren't a military pilot or a commercial airline pilot?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked for an airline?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked as an air traffic controller?
No, Senator.
You ever worked for a company that manufactures airplanes?
No, Senator.
You ever worked for a company that fixes airplanes?
No, Senator.
FAA administrator is a specialized position. I'm not qualified to be FAA administrator. I have no idea how to fly a plane. No one in their right mind would put me in charge of aviation safety because I don't have that experience. I suspect most of the members of this committee are in a similar position. The American people, when they think about aviation safety, when they think about, I played in this committee, a Southwest Airlines and FedEx plane almost colliding at Austin's airport. They want an FAA administrator who knows why those planes crash and knows how to fix it to keep them safe. And with all respect, Mr. Washington, it gives no comfort to the flying public that their pilot might be a transgendered witch, but doesn't actually know how to prevent the plane from crashing into the ground and killing them. I believe your record is woefully lacking. And in fact, you have zero aviation safety experience.
That's what you get when you go the DEI route. Have you ever been in any way in the aviation industry? No, but you're going to head the FAA. That's why people ask questions, because they've seen that video and others on a loop for 4 years. Woefully unqualified people. So when that happens and you have that for a 4-year period, the standards, the training standards, all that stuff starts going down the tubes, and eventually you get into a catastrophic scenario. Do I think that's necessarily the case here? I don't. Not from what I have seen. Just being honest. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm going to dovetail off of this. I will basically leave this topic saying that there's still so many questions. I'm glad that there was a video out there, not because I take any joy, and none of us do, in seeing that, but it offers a bit of clarification. Grainy video from a great distance doesn't tell us a whole lot, but it raises more questions than it answers. When we see an aircraft with these people, I've flown with them. They have flown me around when I was a soldier. They flew me around, and they are surgeons with those Black Hawk helicopters. And how a mistake like this could be made, I don't know. There's people calling for the names. They want the name of the pilot. They want to know the background of all these pilots. They want to know what in the world could have possessed them to fly for over a minute directly towards an aircraft that's approaching the runway, preparing to land, thus taking the lives of 67 souls. It's a sad, sad, sad thing. It's a sad thing. But while we were talking about DEI, I'm going to dovetail off of that very briefly and talk about how DEI, which as we were kind of discussing before, is something that the American people have rejected. We rejected it because we believe this should be a merit-based system. This is a merit-based country. That's part of our founding. And the DNC is voting on a new chair, and they have learned absolutely nothing. Listen to this question here.
In this round, so I'm going to I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
That's why it was.
Okay. So that's good. You all passed.
Did they learn nothing? Did they learn nothing? The only reason that Kamala Harris could have lost is because of racism and sexism. They're going to learn eventually. I thought about this. Let them go ahead and continue with this silliness. Let them go ahead and continue right on into 2028. Do it. Go, the same line, all the same stuff. Do it. Do it. And it'll be J.D. Vance 2028 or Don Jr. 2028 or Eric Trump 2028. Keep on going. Keep on going. And in the meantime, Donald Trump has zero cares left to give. I'm tempering my language, but federal employees were told to remove their pronouns from email signatures by the end of the day. This was today. It ends. It's the purge. Just like I was playing in that video right at the start. The purge has started. And while the purge itself was a scary, freaky movie, the fact is the system has to be purged. It has to be purged from this silliness. Equal justice under the law. This is why we have Pam Bondi and we have Kash Patel. Non-politicization of the federal agencies. No politicized federal agencies. And it's gonna happen with them kicking and screaming. But it's going to be a new era of accountability, and I'm so happy about it. I really am, because I love my country. I love my country, and I believe not in the government, but I believe in our Constitution. We've been successful. We've reached this pinnacle that we have reached because of that beautiful, beautiful, wonderful document that I keep right here beside me, by the way, lest I need to reference something. It's a beautiful document, and that in our justice system with Lady Justice wearing a blindfold, it's fantastic. And this actually, we got a little bit of justice here recently, and this guy, he actually asked for a pardon. Gold Bar Menendez, sentenced to 11 years in prison. Do you remember this guy? So former Senator Bob Menendez was sentenced to 11 years in prison on Wednesday after being found guilty on all counts, including bribery, extortion, obstructing justice, and acting as an illegal foreign agent over the summer. According to the Wall Street Journal, prosecutors had asked the judge to sentence Menendez to 15 years in prison, while they said that a sentence of no more than 8 years would be appropriate. Menendez received bribes such as gold bars and a Mercedes convertible in exchange, promised to disrupt criminal proceedings in New Jersey, aid Cairo in its effort to get hundreds of millions of dollars in U.S. aid, and pressure a federal agency to not contest a halal meat monopoly granted to a New Jersey business by Egypt, prosecutors say. He was out in the open. There were pictures of him holding gold bars with Egypt markings on it. The guy made an absolute fortune. Now people are saying, oh, is he going to ask? They asked Karoline Leavitt during the press conference today, has anybody reached out to you all referencing a pardon? Donald Trump should not and cannot pardon this guy. He absolutely cannot pardon this guy. He took foreign money. He used his, this is interesting. He took foreign money. He used his political position to enrich himself. Is this sounding familiar? He took money from places that aren't necessarily, technically our allies, but only in certain ways, and he got 11 years. Do we ever think, what would they give to Joe Biden? You know what I'm saying? Here it is, a senator taking foreign money and gifts. What about the I don't know. I'd like to know the names of the people who bought Hunter Biden's artwork for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Interesting? Maybe. But I'm going to continue with this talk of accountability because it's really true. We've got the social safety net, which has been wildly abused in America, and we've got to bring some transparency to that system. We have to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of that system. But it's not just at the federal level. I focus a lot on the federal level. I care about what happens in my state of Tennessee, which I've got some folks, as I said, that have been commenting here. They're from Tennessee, greatest state in our great union. But the state level is very, very important. And one of my favorite politicians is Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas. And she's bringing some accountability to her state as well. Check this out.
A hand up, not a handout, and giving everyone an opportunity to live their best life right here in Arkansas. That's why today I'm announcing that our state will seek a waiver from the Trump administration to let us create a Medicaid work requirement. The requirement is simple. If you want to receive free health care paid for by your fellow taxpayer, able-bodied working age adults have to work. go to school, volunteer, or be home to take care of their kids. 220,000 able-bodied working-age adults in Arkansas receive free health care, courtesy of the Arkansas taxpayer. It cost us more than $2.2 billion each year and growing. Of those recipients, estimates show that nearly 90,000 have no job. Most Arkansans work hard to pay for their health insurance, but many of these healthy adults don't work at all and receive it for free.
There you go. If you are an able-bodied person, it is time to work. Look, we have to look at this at the federal level. We don't have the money. Where's it coming from? Where's the money? We're spending $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion more than we're bringing in tax revenue. We have a massive expenditures problem. And it's like the George Costanza situation. If y'all watched Friends, or not Friends, Seinfeld. I don't know why I said Friends. If you watch Seinfeld and him putting all this effort into keeping his unemployment benefit so they didn't actually have to work. That's no way to live, first off. We all need purpose. Everybody needs a purpose in life. Work gives you a purpose. Ending the day saying, I accomplished something, gives you a purpose. And the days of people leeching off the system, they've got to end. They've got to be over. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders she's a hard-nosed lady. I really, really respect her. She's a fantastic governor. She quietly sits down there in Arkansas and is just making change, doing great things. And she doesn't get a lot of press, to be honest. I stay up on these things, and she is just doing it behind the scenes. Why? It's because she really cares about Arkansans. It's because she cares about her citizens. She's not worried about being in the limelight. She's worried about informing people like she is doing in that press conference. But she's not jumping up and down, whooping and hollering all the time about it. She's like, nope, I'm here to work for my people, and that's it. And God bless her for that. That's the kind of governor that you need. That's the kind of governor every state needs. Unlike the Gavin Newsoms and people like that who are more interested in, having a large hair gel budget and sitting on mainstream media flapping their gums. How about you actually get to work? So I've got a clip here, and I hate to say that I'm bouncing around, but I kind of am, because the rest of these are just very interesting stories that we've got to report on. I've talked about these Senate confirmation hearings for the past 2 live streams, so the past 2 days, and I've got another clip that I have to bring up. One of my favorite politicians, and let me know if you guys like him. If you're wanting to make a comment, are you guys Rand Paul fans? Of all you folks that are on right now, let me know if you are a Rand Paul fan, or if you're not. Let me say, love Rand, hate Rand. One way or the other, let me know where you guys sit. But Rand Paul took his time, his 7 minutes or whatever he had, and he went on this long, drawn-out explanation about vaccines and about the people being beholden to the pharmaceutical companies and so on and so forth. But he got into it with Bill Cassidy, Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. You got to listen to this exchange.
Sorry, I didn't get to a question.
For the record, if a child is born to a hepatitis B mother, that child may have a 95% chance of becoming a chronic carrier. But if
we vaccinate those people, and nobody's against that.
But if
that's a very small percentage and a red herring. That is not what we're talking about. 99.9% of kids don't have a hepatitis B, Mom. And could they wait a while? Could they get vaccinated at 3 months or a year? Yes.
So again, for the record, if the mother's hepatitis B status is known, then that can be delayed. The problem is oftentimes, or at least a significant percentage of the time, the mother's status is not known. If she's hepatitis B positive, a vaccine on day 1 of life prevents chronic hepatitis B 95% of the time. So it really depends upon the knowledge of the mother's hepatitis B status. And when they used to do just, okay, we know the mother's status or not, there was mothers that snuck through. Their status was unknown. We can blame the OBs, yeah, Marshall. But for the record, there is an absolute rationale for that. But you're right. If the mother's status is definitively known, that it can be safely delayed. So
the reason I play this clip is because he's going to be one of the critical votes in RFK Jr. RFK Jr. needs to get in. but he's an important vote in this, and he is one of these folks that is religious about vaccines. It really takes on a religious fervor when it comes to this because he believes in them wholeheartedly and completely. And I've listened to folks, that this with hepatitis, it can be that you'll know if the mother has hepatitis. You'll know if it can be tested in utero. All this, and so whether or not that kid needs to be vaccinated or not will be known in advance. But the research with this going from when I was a kid, I don't know. I could probably ask my mom or dad how many I had to get because I have no idea. But going from 3 or 4 in RFK Jr.'s time to 73 today with no liability for the pharmaceutical companies, that is questionable. That is frightening, to be honest. No liability is frightening. And if liability protections are removed, people have agreed on this across the board, these things will be pulled off the market like that. Quick as a hiccup. And I'm not somebody who, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But I listen to the experts. And there's enough information out there. And I've read some of these, people reference some of these studies, and why not? I'll pop in there and I'll start reading through some of these studies, and it's jargon in a lot of ways that I don't understand. But I'll read synopsises from other people. And yeah, there's some questionable data out there. It needs to be explored. We need to have good science because the kids are our future. If we're making them chronically ill, and we know that 1 in 34 now are suffering from some form of autism, that most kids now have some sort of a chronic disease, we have to look at all the things we're doing wrong. That's a huge tax on our medical system. Huge. And, obesity is a monstrous problem in America, a huge problem in America. We have hundreds of thousands that are dying every year from heart disease. And, it's not just the poor folks out there either. It's the rappers. I hate to make light of something after talking about a serious topic like that, but obese female Detroit rapper, fatfluencer, Dank DeMoss sues Lyft after a driver tells her she can't fit in the car. Look, this is part of the problem too. This fat, you can't fat shame. You have to be proud of your weight. And I listened to a comedian the other day, and that comedian was saying, it used to be the pretty girls that the guys can't talk to. Now they can't talk to the fat girls either because they've got an attitude thinking, no, I'm 300 pounds and I'm beautiful. Look, people suffer with weight problems in this country. Let's figure out what's causing it. But to say that, no, I'm going to make myself as fat as I possibly can, and then when I can't fit inside a normal car, I'm going to sue Lyft, the company. She's taking Lyft to court after a driver refused to give her a ride, claiming she was too big to fit in his car and might, quote, burst his tires. Dank DeMoss, whose real name is Dua Blanding, recorded the incident earlier this month and posted it across her social media. In the video, Blanding tells the driver, I can fit in this car. The driver, however, looks at Blanding and disagrees with her, replying, believe me, you can't. The driver assured Blanding she wouldn't be charged for the canceled ride. In response, she went on to file a lawsuit accusing Lyft of discrimination and seeking damages for emotional distress. She said, I've been in cars smaller than that. I just want them to know that it hurt my feelings. Okay, your feelings were hurt. Oh, when that becomes a debatable issue, whether or not you can fit inside of a car, lifestyle changes are required. They are desperately, desperately needed at that point. Sorry, but it's true. Look, I struggled with weight too. As I've gotten older, my metabolism has actually gone down the drain. But I can tell you, that level of obesity, you need to see a doctor. Like, you got to see a doctor at that point. Goodness gracious. And we're seeing the same thing on airplanes. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but in airplanes, folks are saying, no, I should be able to get 2 seats just because I'm big, that I should be able to pay for 1 seat and get 2 so that I can comfortably fit in it. Wow. This is a serious problem, this obesity thing. And it's like we come to the transgender thing. This is gender dysphoria. I talked about it in a couple of videos ago. Since the 80s in the DSM-3, and then in the DSM-5, it's changing the title of it and all this. But this is an issue that has been identified as a mental health problem And you feel for the people who are suffering from it. I couldn't understand what it's like to experience a mental health problem like that, but it's not something that you lean into. You don't lean into mental health problems. You don't lean into things that are going to shorten your life, like that level of obesity. You say, let's figure out a way, let's figure out what's causing it. Let's figure out if it's, whatever. There's ways to get around that, because when you start talking, these same folks will talk about having a free healthcare system, having socialized healthcare, and that means I'm paying for it. So when you intentionally do things and I'm paying for it, I've got a problem with that. If you want my opinion. Great day in the morning. Well, let's go to this next one. Actually, let me skip forward to that one. I'm gonna skip over that one there. Let's go to this one right here. Oh boy. Everybody's favorite Representative Jasmine Crockett. Y'all know who Jasmine Crockett is? She says, on his first day in office, Donald Trump froze the hiring of federal employees, including air traffic controllers. And then this is community notes for the win. Do you guys love community notes? Community notes, because I absolutely do. That this is what a free press is like, or not a free press, but a version of media where they can't pull the wool over your eyes. If you sit there and all you watch is CNN, you are getting a heavily swayed message from people that are loyal to one party, one political party, which is diametrically opposed to conservatives in every possible way. And you're getting one that's paid for by massive companies that seek to do you harm, like I was talking about in the pharmaceutical industry. But when you go to X, they're going to sit there and they can spout off whatever, they can say whatever they want. But you have a filter that says, actually, you just told us a lie. And now you're exposed as telling us a lie. Because Community Notes said federal air traffic controllers are exempted from the hiring freeze. She also says, and I wish that, the Post Millennial is a fantastic news outlet. So I pitch them every time. I love using their stuff. It's a great website. They have great content. But she claims that 80% of extreme crimes are committed by white supremacists. So if you don't know who Jasmine Crockett is, she is a racist. She is heavily racist. And she's in a group of a couple of other representatives who fit that bill. But during her district swearing-in ceremony for the 119th Congress on Tuesday, Representative Jasmine Crockett claimed that, quote, evil is in the Oval Office and suggested that President Trump's supporters are white supremacists. Y'all, it's getting real. It's been 8 days. 8 days, y'all. 8, Crockett said. Here, let me just play the video. How about we just watch it on X? I'm sure it'll be, everybody will be very entertained by this one. Let's play this.
Y'all, it's getting real. It's been 8 days. 8 days, y'all. 8. And we were only in for 3 of them. It's been 8 days. And honestly, I don't know how else to describe this other than evil. It's evil that is literally sitting in the highest seat in the world. The idea that Head Start does not know whether or not they will have their funding. The idea that the Medicaid websites have gone down and gone dark.
Not true. They were down temporarily, but they came back up within a few hours.
I'm trying to tell y'all that whatever we do going forward, we need to recognize that there is no such thing as perfection that is walking on this earth. And I think some of us got caught up. And because we didn't have our perfect candidate, some of us decided that we would stay home. Some of us decided that we couldn't talk to our friends and our kids and explain to them that you still love your spouses even though they're not perfect. Some of them just didn't fully understand the threat that existed. But I am here to tell you, not to make you fearful, that it's time to buckle up, Buttercup. Because they were allowed to divide us. They were allowed to make people who didn't necessarily understand or agree with trans folks say, well, never mind, I'm not gonna vote. They were allowing those that said, well, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that doesn't include me, not realizing that if you are uniquely abled, or if you're a woman, or if you are from rural America, or if you're a veteran, all of these are categories that qualify under diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I've got this playing on 1.5 speed.
I'm gonna try to be uplifting. but I got to be real. We got to stick together. And even, I appreciate y'all reelecting me. I'm sure I took some votes that somebody here got a problem with. Because no one is ever going to agree 100%. But as a baseline, in this country, we always had morality. We always had people that at least knew right from wrong. Right now, we are living in the upside down. They're complaining about the people that are trying to make sure that we can have food on our tables or make sure that we can have a roof over our head while allowing those that went through due process and were absolutely convicted and absolutely given sentences, we're going to release them. And by the way, since I now serve on judiciary, my first hearing was immigration. And I know there's a lot of propaganda that's out there. But one of the things that I made clear is that it's not immigrants that are committing all the crimes. I get that you can find any random criminal in any race. I just want to be clear. But going out and finding one terrible situation and then taking a paintbrush and saying this applies to all of them is wrong. Let me make sure y'all got the facts. Most extreme crimes that take place in this country are committed by white supremacists. 80% of extreme crimes are committed by white supremacists in this country. Do you know who went up there on January 6th? White supremacists. This ain't me just telling you this. You can Google this if you don't believe, but it was the Oath Keepers. It was the neo-Nazis. It was the Proud Boys. They are all white supremacists.
The Proud Boys, by the way, are led by a man of color, just to be very clear about
While
that.
everybody said they voted based on the price of eggs, I got news for you.
Not saying I agree with them, but
they're not going down no time soon. They've hit record highs.
Look, 80% of crime, we all know. Those of us with two functioning brain cells and a pulse understand that is absolutely not true. She is right. You can find people of any race, creed, religion, whatever, that have committed crimes. But to say that 80% and that everybody there at January 6th or anybody that was there at Trump's rally is a white supremacist. Previously in her little spiel there, she said, we can't paint everybody with a brush, right? We can't paint all immigrants with a brush because we have a lot of criminal illegal immigrants. And almost every episode, in fact, I was going to show you one here just a little while ago, and I'll pull it up now. I'm going to skip over it. Yeah, I do this every single episode, and I could probably pull 6 or 7 articles of illegal immigrants who have committed murder or crimes or so on and so forth. So yeah, I got it. She'll paint Trump supporters with a brush, but you can't paint people that fit within her DEI bubble with a brush. That's verboten. That's evil. That's terrible. So just don't buy into this mess, please. We're the smart ones, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying you guys would, but when you're talking to your friends and you're talking to your folks at work, and they start talking like this, saying, well, the real problem is white people. The real problem is this. It's not about that. It's about going where the crime is, finding the crime and rooting it out, regardless of what community it happens to be in. Because my take on it is your skin color is the least interesting thing about you. If you're that surface level with any human being, you're looking at them in the wrong way. You're looking at them in an evil way. What's interesting is the person and the story and how they were raised and what they're doing with their life. And if they are committing crimes regardless of their skin color, they go to prison. And if they're committing these heinous crimes and we've got agencies that are willing to go out and find them, like Kash Patel's FBI, which should be happening fairly soon, yes, I'm all for it. If it's Kristi Noem and Tom Homan out there doing this with illegal immigrants and capturing Tren de Aragua gang members that are taking over apartment buildings, if they're catching people with, like they did the other day, a group of people that had 130,000 fentanyl pills, yeah, let's do it. I don't care what their color is. I care that we keep Americans safe. Period. End of story. And I know you guys think the same. You guys love this country too. You want to see it improved, and we are on a rapid pace to do that with Donald J. Trump in the White House. It's, again, like I say, it's almost too much to keep up with. And I've been going now for 50 minutes, as I will do sometimes. I try to keep it to 30 to 45 minutes, but there is so much going on. It's unbelievable, and I'm happy. I've always been proud to be American, but I'm really proud when I see us moving in a positive direction. So guys, thank you for hanging in with me. Again, if you haven't left a comment, because we've got quite a few folks that are still on, hit me up in the comments and let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're listening from. I would love to reach out to you. And be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that notification bell. And that way you're notified every time a new video is released. God bless you. God bless America. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.